Hello, lovely people. Welcome to a beautiful day in Rust. Um, this morning I wake up and I had this image in my mind, and it was like two black men, one holding, like hugging the other, and the second one. It first looked like they were hugging each other, but then I saw that the other one that was getting the hug was holding a big sword, and he had thrusted it into the other black man with his and on his left hand he had like a walking cane. So it's like the younger man was like hugging the older man, but the older man who had a big sword he had thrusted into the younger man, and um, you know, for me it was like God telling me to talk about like black on black violence, and it's something actually didn't want to talk about because in this time it could be seen as that I want to like uh, throw shade on the whole discussion about like racism. But I think actually this is my way of addressing racism that is maybe not as obvious. I mean, when we look at racism, we talk about like two different races, right? Like a white cop killing a black man. Um, but I want to make a case for that racism isn't. I mean, I know that in America there's a big how you say it history when it comes to yeah, white men being racist with slavery, and so I know that for Americans that's kind of like really the only way almost to look at it. But you know, as a Christian, I think that all men should love the. I mean, God loves us. He loves everybody as the same, and we should also learn how to love each other. You know, so we shouldn't be like. Yeah, we should like investigate what is going in and on in our world. How are we behaving towards each other? So just singling out like what's happening with racism from whites towards blacks is a bit too limiting for me. That's not that I want to say that it's not very important or that it's not happening, because you know I grew up like I was raised. You know, I'm white, but I'm also a little bit inside in my heart. I'm a bit Indonesian, like so like a secret secret Indonesian, because actually I was raised by an Indonesian man, so I was always very interested in his culture, and even asked him like, "Oh, can I learn your language?" He said, "Well, there are too many dialects and stuff," and we always used to go to like Indonesian markets, like they call pasar malams. They're like evening markets. That what pasar malam means. It's evening market, and and always loved. We went to like get Indonesian food and stuff. So I was really always want to go to um, his birthplace, Bali, and sadly, yeah, we never got to do that. But maybe one day I will visit it there. Um, so you know, for me, I've been like a, you know, I'm white on the inside, but I'm not as white inside. I'm white on the outside, but I'm not as white on the inside. You know, so I've always been very sensitive when I heard like a racist remark by other Dutch people, and yeah, I found it of course very stupid. But I always try to think like, well, they're just saying stupid stuff. I mean, like guys do, like. You know, they say a lot of stupid stuff. They don't always like mean it, or doesn't mean they really like would act on it or do something with it. It's just trying to sound tough or making stupid jokes, you know. But of course, like if I would ever found out that anybody would like be actually racist, like they would want to hurt or like treat other people bad, then I would definitely act on that, and I would help that person, you know. And I mean, actually, when I do hear people saying racist things now, I kind of like just try to like say something about it. But yeah, that's not. So yeah, I think that we all should work on that too. But I want to talk about this image that I had of this older man, like who has his sword into this younger black man that's like trying to like hug him. And I think it's a very iconic picture about what's happening. What's I think that that's I think that um, um, like if you want to end racism, like for race, it's not just only racism. I really want to help. I think that is really painful that if you look at the black community, black people in general in Africa, over the whole world, that they have been like getting the short end of the stick. Like it's like it almost looks like they're not uh, you know uh, they have been treated badly, and because of that they seem to be in a bad spot a lot. And it happens like in my country. It's not that much. I mean, there's also racism towards certain groups of people, and sometimes also like but I think that it's it's strange because some cultures like Asian people, they don't seem to be as they actually like they're doing really good. Like if you look in America, like the universities, they don't even allow all the Asians to get all the good spots anymore, and they're being negatively racist against Asians when it comes to like getting into university because they're just doing so great in school that if they would just let them in based on their merits, then they would fill up all the spots and there wouldn't be any space for other like races and other types of people. So they're not just positively, they don't get positive discrimination. They're actually being discriminated against because they're Asian, because they're being too good at school. So, which is really unfair. But people are not making a big fuss about that because, I mean, they're doing great, they're doing too good, and now they're getting punished for it or like being treated unfair. And but yeah, uh, I mean, so what is this image, And it's kind of exactly what I was trying to talk about. And if you look at the kind of discrimination that we also have to look at is discrimination within like our own communities. And that's kind of, you say, well, how can you have discrimination against your own community, right? How is that possible? That shouldn't be possible. What are we talking about? It's crazy, this guy. Well, the thing is, I think that racism is it's not about who you are. It's about what you think and how you behave according to those thoughts that you have. So, if it's not about like you can call me racist. It's very easy because I'm white. So but the thing is like if I wouldn't say anything racist and do anything racist, you probably wouldn't, right? You're gonna just call me racist because I'm white. I will be racist. Oh, you're white, so you must be a racist. That's a racist thing to think or say. But yeah, if we look at like white privilege, that's kind of like it's such a blanket statement that you're but yeah. Um, I think that that is really about what's in your mind. Do you think that somebody's inferior to you because you are a different color? Do you think that that other person is dangerous to you? Treating what's going to treat you badly is treating you badly because he's different color. All these thoughts if you're just purely basing it on somebody's color, nothing else, not their behavior, not what they have said or done, they're basically racist. Um, how can you say that every person of with the same kind of like race is gonna have these kind of traits, or gonna, that's like what racism is about. You're purely basing your ideas on somebody, on their on their skin, on the skin color. So um, so yeah, I think if you looked at if this their definition of race is the way you think, and it's the way that you yeah, treat other people, then it's not about your skin color, it's about your mind and the actions that you take with that. And even, I mean, even if you don't do any actions, I mean, just the thoughts alone could be like leading, yeah, one day leading to those actions. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't know. It's hard to know what people think, right? So basically, you would, if somebody says something, calls you a bad word, or does some action towards you, that is like showing his negative tendencies towards your race, because you are of that race. Um, that could be a marker for racism, right? So can like a white man be racist to a white man? I think a white man can be racist to a white man if he believes that all white men are like privileged or something. Let's say like I have a son or daughter, and they would apply to like a college, and the person who is like giving out those places in college is also a white man, and he would say, well, look, and he has to, have only so many places to give, and like my son or daughter, he has like the right merits, he has the right, he has all the good things that he should normally, like if race wouldn't be considered, they would get a spot. But this man is considering the race, and says, well, we already have too many white people, um, you know. So that is that racist? Is that not racist? That's I mean, you could discuss that. That's like that's an interesting discussion. And I mean, probably like um, but yeah, if you're discriminating on people on like on their skin color, it is, um, um, you're discriminating on their skin color. You know what? So um, if um, if somebody who is white, and he's um, I know it's hard to make try to explain white on white racism, like if that would be even possible. But I mean, you can imagine it could be possible, if somebody if a white person is really anti-white, and he just looks at like white people as being a scour on this world, you could think that, a lot of like political people are thinking like that and talking like that, like so yeah, but that's not what I want to talk about, because well, I guess I kind of did by talking about it not right now. Um, so racism is really about your mind. It's not your color or somebody else's color. Like if you think that racism is only about you're white and I'm black, or you're black and I'm white, then that's a very very limited way of thinking. Like the fact that I'm white and somebody other is black or some color, that has really really very little to do with the fact I'm racist or they're racist. You know. Um, it's really what's in that person's mind, what's in my mind. How do I talk and think about people like that? and how I think about people like that, how I treat them. Do I love them? Do I care for them? Do I have negative assumptions about them because of their race? Anyway, I'm going in circles now. But so what's this image of this older black man like stabbing this younger black man, and why is the younger black man hugging like the older black man, right? And I think that younger people need like they need when you grow up when you're a child. I was like brought up, but like my mother was mentally ill, and my father, he was pretty old already. It's Indonesian man, he was like 65. When they took me from like the baby like I was already like taken away from my mom, and because he came in my mom's life, this older Indonesian man, I was able to like she was able to get me back. But yeah, basically, I would have been still like spent my life in foster care if it wouldn't be for him. So I already love him to pieces, but that's another reason to love him because he really saved my life and gave me himself as a father and my mom. So I'm very grateful for that. And I mean, he is my father. He's maybe not biologically, but I mean, if a man like takes care of you for the first like 11, 12 years of your life, uh, uh, you know, um, he got up very early in the morning to get fresh bread for me to take for school, and it's like, yeah, it's like he was a great guy. So, um, but and we need that. We need somebody who is gonna be in the house there for that. And like a mother might not be enough. A mother might is gonna just smother you with love, and see, you need a mother too. But that father, we need somebody somebody just shows us. Yeah, we need that extra care. We need somebody to look up to that shows us right from wrong. Somebody who yeah, it's not always going to be nice. Somebody who is going to be good for us in a way where if we like would mistreat ourselves and like do bad things, he would say, well, he would teach us a good right from wrong, right? He would like incentivize us to be do good things. And I think that's kind of what this vision is about. Like you need like why are the Asians doing so good in a lot of cases is because they have this family situation where the father is expecting a lot of their children. He is actually like pretty strict. He can be loving too. I mean, he can be loving and strict at the same time, but he is like expecting um, he's expecting like good grades, and if you don't get good grades, yeah, you might get even some punishment. Maybe it's not much. Maybe not to go out and play with your friends or somebody. But you're gonna feel that you're not doing you should like get your act together. And they will do something to positively influence you, hopefully in a good way, to get your grades together. So you get good grades in school. So at least you get some basic um, education, and you will do better in life. And not only education, but also like how to behave and how to talk, you know, and how to treat other people, how to treat a woman, in a proper way. Now, I I had to learn a lot of that by myself because my older in although he was Asian, he like I don't know if he really knew what he had gotten himself into. I mean, he was a sweet man, but he never reprimanded me. He never did anything to like. He wasn't like strict or anything. And he never raised his voice. He never told me off. So I kind of like he was along for the ride. Now I'm older, I understand kind of how that goes. Like you get a girlfriend that might have a child or something, and then you just take care of the child, and you love it, and you know that the child loves you. But yeah, it's something you have to work on. You really don't know how long you would be in the I understand now as an adult for him. you know I understand that. Um, for me, it was obvious, like he was my father. So and I guess for him too. Um, but yeah, I always try to empathize with people and think about how it must have been for them. So yeah, I try to imagine how it must have been for my father. But yeah, I think that those. I mean, he took care of me, so good care of me. So I think that's all I need to know. And yeah, but he was there. There was somebody there, and if it wasn't for him, because he like chose to take care of me, and say, well, then I wouldn't have a father. I wouldn't even have a mother. I would have been just in foster care like my whole life, maybe. I don't know what would have what would have happened. But I wouldn't be with. I wouldn't have been with my mom, and she was great, really sweet mom. So I would have missed out on that big time. And I don't think any like not many mothers are so as loving as she is. Mothers are loving by default. Uh, but yeah, she was really sweet. And yeah, um, every child wants to be with a mom, right? So I was really happy that I had that. And yeah, I didn't miss out on that. So thanks to him. And that's kind of what I want to talk about is when we talk about discrimination. Uh, I think that what do you think about your own race is really important. You have ideas about you can have ideas about another race. You can think about Asians. Oh, Asians always have good grades and very polite and stuff, and uh, they have you can have all these things about Asians. But what do you think about white people? What do you think about black people? What do you think about black people as a black person? What do you think about white people as a white person? And those ideas, those opinions, they might be actually quite negative. And so, what is a drug dealer thinking about himself when he becomes a drug dealer? Um, is this what didn't he have any higher expectations of himself? Why did he choose to become a drug dealer? And I think there is I think they're being racist against. They have the I mean, if they think that the only way out for them, only thing to get anything out of life is to become a drug dealer, how do they get to that point where they were thinking that? Did did who convinced them? What convinced them to get in that mindset that this is the way they have to live their life? You know, isn't it like really sad that you become a drug dealer because that's the only way you think that you can make a living? Um, I know that when it comes to crime, a lot of people think that's like an easy way out, an easy way to make a lot of money or something. There was this guy who had like this TED talk and he said that you probably make more money like working in McDonald's than like trying to sell like crack cocaine on the street to the corner street, because you have to stand there for like 10 hours, and like your hourly wage is lower than like working at McDonald's. So the only reason that these people, um, yeah, like do that is because they've bought into the lie of like the guy who's up top of them, who is like walking around big gold chains, throwing money dollar bills around, like showing like, oh look, I'm doing this great life, and you can become like me if you just work for me and make money for me. And one day you can be the top boss too and also have all these riches. And that's the reason why they get drawn into this, because that they get fooled into thinking that's a good business, which if you like really crunch the numbers for the guy starting out on the street corner, it really isn't. And if you take in account for that fact that you can get shot, killed by the police, you can get like, you have to deal with druggies, and by the fact that you're actually hurting your community, you're hurting other black people. If you're selling like your drugs to some girl, and where's she gonna get the money? She gonna probably gonna one day become a prostitute. So you have made countless women put them into prostitution, and it and so what is going into your mind, thinking that those women wouldn't be better off getting married, having a loving husband, having children, working at McDonald's, or having a husband who works at McDonald's. You know, I know that you might think, oh, that's a stupid job. I've worked at McDonald's when I was younger. But it doesn't matter. A job is a job. You get paid. You know, if you can pay your bills, who cares how you make your money where you work? If you get food on the table, who cares? If it's enough to, like, if you can pay your rent, if you have enough to eat, if you can go out sometimes, have some fun, buy the clothes and the stuff that you need, who cares? You know, this whole idea that you need to buy expensive clothing to like feel good or be good or whatever, that actually is the problem. We get we got we get like distracted. We look at people on TV that are showing us, oh look, I got this expensive brand, and you see, I got money, that's why I got this brand. It's like showing off that you have money, you know. But you wasted money to get that brand, actually. You could have done something much more better with that money, probably. Than, do you need like shoes that are like $200? Do you need like a shirt that's like $100? You could have done so much. You could have bought a $10 t-shirt, and yeah. So who's smarter, the person who is buying all those expensive things, doing drugs, giving drugs to other selling drugs, going into crime? So if you think that, if and that's what I'm saying, like if you believe that that's the only way out for you in your life, where did you get to that point? What happened in your life that you were led to believe that the only way to make money is to become a drug dealer or a pimp? What happened to you? And I think that it starts, and that's where the image comes in, like of the older men stabbing like the younger men. It's the older generations that keep like they are uh, they are creating this situation where the younger generation has no option than to become like them. That's why they're killing the older generations, is like destroying the younger generations, because they believe that they cannot, because they don't teach the younger children, that the younger kids, that they can do better. you know And if you don't teach the younger generation to do better, or that they can do better, you're setting them up to become like you, and also become drugs dealers, drugs users, pimps, prostitutes. Uh, all you need to do in life when you're young to succeed is to study. Studying is the way to success. I mean, the Asians know this. The whole family, the whole family situation, they have only one goal: let our children study and get good grades. Because if they do that, they can achieve something with their lives. They will be able to have they will have the money to pay for their family and teach their children those same values. So, and that's the positive, like that's what Asian people expect from their own and a lot of white people too, not all, and like Jewish people. So a lot of, so you can see there's a culture of like achievement, and I mean, and there are like also there are like a lot of like Christian families, you know, they have this culture of doing good, being good, and um, um, and that's what's gonna save any race, any group of people that are not doing great, you know. And I think, as bad as racism is, I think that's a form of internalized racism where, yeah, you just have too low expectations of yourself, of your children, of your future, and um, and then get demotivated. You know, you're just demotivated and start choosing a life of crime. And the children, the younger people, start losing because that's the only thing that they see around them, because that's what the older generation is doing. So the younger generation, what is that? What do they learn? They learn from the older generation, and and they might be great guys. I mean, because just because you're a drug dealer doesn't mean you're like a monster. You know, you make money. You may give some money to these younger kids. You may need to like to walk the streets to get like to sell your drugs or like you know. But it's horrible. It's horrible having like an addiction. You know, addiction, like the Dutch word for um, addiction is slavernij, which slavernij, nee, verslaving. I'm sorry, verslaving. Addiction in Dutch is verslaving, which means enslavement. So the Dutch word for addiction is enslavement. So actually, when you're like selling drugs to younger kids, you're enslaving them to just to being not successful. Because how can you be successful? How can you get degrees? How you can get on in life if all you want to do is get a few more bucks to get the new drugs in your system? You know, what kind of uh, uh, you're setting them up for failure. You're making them failures by making a few bucks off of them. Well, you could have made probably more money selling burgers to a McDonald's, and the only one who's ever making a little bit more money than all the other people are the guys on top. You know, maybe there are some guys somewhere in South America becoming very rich because of because of all the drugs you're selling. You know, maybe there are a few guys there But all those guys, what they are doing, they're just running around with guns, shooting people. Is that really what you want for your community? You know. So when you like, are you if you're part of that, selling drugs, buying drugs, you know, you're a part of a system that's institutional racism. Is an institute of destruction. You know. So it's another form of it's not I mean institute like government and stuff, they also have can be racist or do racist things, but this is another form of like an institute uh, that's destroying your community. You know, it's and by being a drugs dealer, by being like a drug user, by not speaking up against it, by not doing anything about it, by allowing it to happen. I mean, I understand that what happened to like George Floyd. I mean, we need to like talk about police brutality. You know, those what he did that shouldn't be allowed. You know, and we have to end that kind of like way of arresting people. I mean, there should be a better way. You know. Um, and at least take people serious when they say, "Well, I can't breathe," you know, they might have a medical issue, and I mean, you can't just ignore that. You cannot just ignore people in general, even though you're arresting them, you know, because they might die. And uh, and if cops are, if you can, if you and yeah, if cops definitely shouldn't be racist. They should, you know. Um, but yeah, but if we're talking about that, why not talk about this too? You know, if this is like, I mean, and also like this this whole thing about like if somebody only thinks about getting some money for like buying their drugs because they have to, because they feel they have to, they might do anything to get that money, you know. So they will go into crime, petty theft, stealing from stores, stealing from each other, going into burglaries, robbing people. And if you look at George Floyd, that's a lot of things he did. Like he robbed, even like with a group of guys, they robbed this like a pregnant black woman, and he pulled a gun on her. You know, he held it to her belly. You know, so do I think that George Floyd is a monster? No, I think that he is a victim of this instituted racism. You know, and that's called drugs and drug dealing, and cops actually are trying to like fight that, you know, and try to stop that. Now sometimes they get it wrong, and sometimes they mistreat people, and we need to deal with that, and we need to put more time and energy into like educating cops on how to treat people better. But I think that we also should talk about what's going on in the family unit. You know, how you know, as fathers, as uncles, as we should, we um, we need like good men to teach younger men to become good men too. You know, like don't just look at your own kid, but if his friend doesn't have a father figure, become his father figure. You know, uh, there's this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, about this guy, and he had he had a youth friend, and his friend had his father. He says rich dad poor dad, like he has two dads, right? So, in his own dad, he was a teacher, and his friend's dad, he was like an entrepreneur, and he teached him everything about entrepreneurships, and like now he's a multi millionaire because he learned from that dad how to think about how I think about money, and learn about economics. And so you can be like a little stepdad, a little side dad for some guys in your community if you're a good guy, and you have like some good. I mean, anybody can become a good guy. I mean, George Floyd was certainly, if you look at he's trying to improve his life. You know, he was active in church and in the Christian community, and he was trying to better his life. Now, I know that's really hard when you're like have a history of addiction, because addiction. I used to be addicted to cigarettes, and it was pretty much impossible for me to quit. I tried to quit as soon as I started, but I smoked for 10 years and I hated it. Now, I like smoking, but I hate the fact that I was spending money on it, that I was enslaved to it. That's like verslaving, that's a Dutch word. I really felt like a slave to cigarettes. And so for me as a Dutch person, because we use that word, I was very negative. I'm very negative against drugs because, obviously, being not in control of your life, which is enslavement. If you're enslaved, you've lost control. If you want money for that drugs, and that drugs is starting to run out of your system, then people will do anything to get that, because their whole body is telling them to get it. You know, and that's why I don't like to drink much. Like I almost never drink, because it's very, very addictive, and I'm very scared of having that addiction. I was very happy. Like in faith, I was able to stop smoking finally. I thought it was easy with God's help, and it was. And so 20 years ago, I quit smoking, and I became like started going to church, and asked God for His help. And yeah, I mean, George Floyd, he was that he found drugs in his system, and I looked at the video. I was thinking about showing you guys, but if you look at the video, you can see him like drop a little white baggie on the floor when they put him down to sit down. You can see that there's nothing on the floor, and then as he's almost at the ground, he drops a little white baggie from his hand, and you can see it on the floor. And so he got so. I'm not saying that makes it alright what happened to him. That definitely is wrong. I'm just trying to say that um, that he might, he had actually had drugs in his system. You could see also like he had struggled to walk. Now I don't know if that could have been, of course, like a way to try to get to the ground where he could get rid of the baggie, but I don't think that's the whole case. I think he was like, he fell down like almost 3 times, I think. Like you can see he was like weak in the knees for 3 times. So I think like what he was always saying, like I can't breathe, and he had really breathing problems, and they were actually trying to get an ambulance, I think, because of that for him. And so that's why he fell to the ground, because if you cannot breathe, you don't have oxygen. There's not enough oxygen in your body will just, your legs need, your muscles need oxygen to function. So it could be very well that he got weak in his knees because his body wasn't getting the oxygen it needed. He was just weak because of that. So, and fentanyl, I think, was in his body. That seems to give problems with breathing. I don't know much about it, but I mean, uh, well, I do know that my mom, she had like bad lungs from smoking, and she had like a couple of years ago, she went to intensive care because she had breathing problems, and they put like actually she blacked out in like at the hospital, and like she was kind of doing that at home, so that's why I called the ambulance. And then when it happened at the hospital, they just toot toot toot, and like everybody was like rushing in, and they went to put her into like and they put her like a tube in her throat, and they put her in narcosis. She was like that for a couple of days because her lungs weren't just not giving her the oxygen she needed. So and that you only have like your body can only That's deadly. If that happens for too long, you're dead. And that's actually what happened. Like in December when she got the flu again. I thought that she was doing better, but yeah, I guess that her lungs were just as bad or even worse. But and like she definitely she was so like weak, you know. And yeah, so I kind of understand where like George Floyd, his situation, he was like because of the like fentanyl or something, his respiration was bad. So they put him on his chest, like of course that it was made it harder for him to breathe. Now I know that putting somebody on his chest might be like standard operating procedure when it comes to arrests, because then you can put the handcuffs on their back, and it's very hard to get up like that, especially when you have like three people sitting on you. But and of course I understand that he could have been fake. He could have been like faking it, trying to get out of arrest. But I mean, how far can you run with how? What can you do if you if you're already on the ground uh, with handcuffs and stuff? Even if he wasn't really like um, have a breathing problem and he was trying to run away or something. I mean, do you need like three people sitting on him? Do you need a guy in your neck? And especially when he's telling you like I can't breathe. So, of course, what they done. I mean, it was incredibly stupid. It should have been handled a lot. Uh, shouldn't have been handled that way. And it was just like completely like disregarding this man's life the way, especially the guy was with had his neck, his knee in his neck, and yeah. Um, but what I was trying to say is that yeah, I mean, we should discuss that, and we should discuss and look for improvements on that. But if we're going to talk about racism, um, oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, why was like this guy treating George Floyd that bad? Because I don't know really. Because I don't know. I cannot read this guy's mind. And maybe it was like he was just being racist. Maybe he had hatred or disregard for this man because he was black. I mean, that's completely possible. But why? Why? I mean, was he taught this way from childhood? Did his parents, did his father talk like that? Why did he? Does everybody in his group talk like that? Now I know that there was an Asian guy there, so I don't think they're just making white like. I mean, it cannot be that. I mean, there's seems like a lot of mixed people there, so I don't understand why. How that can happen. I don't know. Was he racist? I don't know. But yeah, that's like it definitely looked like. Well, it was shown that he did have disregard for this man's life. He didn't take his like pleas for he didn't listen to it, like the black guy who was talking to him, telling that he was killing this guy. He didn't look. There was, I think there was another like fire lady. She was like from the fire department. He wasn't listening to her. I think she also was like colored. I don't know what she was anymore, but he was he racist? Was that the reason why he wasn't listening to these people and to like George Floyd? That could be totally be the case, and but maybe yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I don't even want obviously we need to look into that and deal with that, because if there are cops like that and they're treating people that badly because they have racist ideas, that they think that they're superior or something, or that people don't deserve to live or treated well, then yeah, those people need to be educated on that, definitely. um, but yeah, I just want to add in to that discussion, next to that discussion, like look at what you like um, at this too, because it's a big part of what's going on. You know, a big part of what is really really hurting these communities uh, is their culture or their. I mean, I'm talking about the drug culture, of course. You know, and look, I love like rap hip hop music, and you know I used to have a rap group when I was like 14 years old, and I used to write raps and do graffiti and stuff. Like my favorite band is or group is like Run DMC and stuff, Public Enemy, all those like. But the thing is that uh, um, when you like, I mean, we need to start teaching or well we yeah I could do it too. I mean why because I'm white I shouldn't be able I can't do it. That's actually like kind of stupid that I'm racist against myself. Like um, yeah, we as a people we should like teach the younger populations uh, um, that are like maybe in communities of like poor communities that get a lot of like influences by could get influenced by like let's say drug dealers that maybe they have family members, nephews, friends, people in school that are doing drugs. We should like start to like be positive influence in their lives. Show them that look, yeah, you can do anything. The whole world is your oyster. I don't know. Your whole world is your the whole world is your like Play-Doh. You know, you can just go around the world. You can go anywhere in the world if you have enough money to travel there. You could live there. You can do any job you want. You know, you can obviously can become the president of America. I mean, if you're like American, like I couldn't, of course, but you can become a president of your country. You can be like the richest man, and you can just have and or you can just have like a nice life in with a nice house. You know, you don't that it's very if you think that you cannot have those things because of where you come from, what your background is, that is racism. You know, if you think that about somebody else because of their background, where they're coming from, that's also racist. You know, just because somebody is living, has grown up, is born into a certain community, it, that doesn't say anything about their life, about their life. You know, it doesn't say anything. You know, all you need to do is go to school, and if maybe you have a really bad school, then you just like try to learn what you can learn and then go home and read as many books as you can learn and try to like not fail any tests and go start going to the school, how horrible it might be, and just make sure that you go to after that can go to a better school or at least get the knowledge to do something good with your life, and just focus on your own life and focus on learning and studying and having good character. You know, if you combine those things, good character and education, you can do anything in the world. You know, good character and education, that should be what we have to teach to the younger generation. That is the most valuable thing for them to get their dreams. You know, even if you wanna, yeah, that is what will get you further in life. So if you do drugs, it's already your character. It's going to influence your character. Not only it's going to influence you directly because of the drugs in your system. You might start to do bad, stupid shit. Sorry about my language, but um, yeah, you can get addicted and need money for that, and then you have to do even worse things to get that money. Your whole life will be focused on getting that drug. You won't care about like getting more educated, getting better jobs, or building your business, or like getting a career, or a family, or taking care of your children, because you might still have those dreams, but how are you going to focus on that if you have this thing in your life that is giving you more gratification, is like is more um, is more, what do you say? Oh, I need to go in the. If you won't be able to do that, you know. Um, but if your career is based on like hurting other people, if you decide to sell drugs, if you do, if you know, you're gonna have a career based on hurting other people, you know. Um, I don't think that's really what you want. What you want is a nice life, and you want other people to have a nice life. And the only thing for a nice life that you need, if you're like, let's say you're healthy and stuff, but even if you're not that healthy, or you have all these problems in your life, if you can get like at least some basic education where you can read and write, yeah. I mean, if you can just read and write well, yeah, and you can do a few calculations like basic maths, like not anything special, just like do the money stuff. If you know when you go into the shop that you're getting the right change back, if you can do that, you know, um, if you can read a book and learn new skills from that book and life skills. I mean, sure, you can just listen to YouTube videos your whole life. I mean, but um, so I guess reading and writing is. And you can use a calculator too. I guess just have a good character and start to educate yourself on and educate younger people on uh, on how to treat other people, you know. And that's guess like I guess that goes back to my Christian belief, like where you say, well, God loves us, and He loves us unconditionally, and we should love other people too, you know. Don't don't stab the younger generation. Don't use them for your benefit. Don't sell them drugs. You know, you're ruining their lives. They're not gonna have a good life if they're on drugs. You know, for what? You know, if you have a dream of becoming rich, go get a business degree. Don't become a drug dealer. You know, that might mean that for a while you need to study hard, learn a lot of things about business, but you can actually become a millionaire, you know, or at least, yeah, let somebody, you will have that nice car, you know. And there's only so many people who can get rich of like selling drugs. There are only very few, and they're all just killing each other all the time because there are so very few places in like the whole drug economy where people are actually making enough money where they're rich, or like so-called rich, or they can pretend to be rich and maybe buy a car or something. Real rich, it's anybody can become a business person. Anybody can become a business person. You know, anybody can get some kind of job somewhere. Anybody can like work hard at school and get some decent grades. Now, we're all different. We have, you know, somebody is better at business, somebody is better at math, somebody is better at writing, somebody is better at arts, somebody is better at sports, somebody is better at your social skills, you know. So don't try to be something. Don't get upset if you have trouble with math. That's no problem. Don't get upset if you just don't get the whole business thing. Then maybe if you like, you try to do something with arts. If you're good in arts, it doesn't matter. But whatever you are good in, and you're probably good in something because you're interested in it, just work hard, work really hard, and have like basic. Try to be a good person. Don't do drugs. Don't sell drugs. Um, don't steal. You know. Um, yeah. Treat other people with respect. Don't go into fights with people. I mean, you can. Don't give people don't shout at people and tell them bad names, and don't just try and also teach other younger people to live like that. They will be successful, you know. The older generation needs to like get rid of their life, like George Floyd. He was trying to fix his life. Try to fix your life and teach all the young. Actually, what he was doing, I guess that's what I read about him. Like he was trying to influence younger people and be a good influence. You know, I was kind of like for him, it was probably because he was trying to amend for what he was doing in his earlier life, all the bad shit, all the, sorry for the words, but all the bad things he did, you know, and he was trying to turn his life around and be a better person. I like so, be like him, be like that, you know, get, and if you have like bad habits, if you have drug problem, you know, get help for that, you know, and maybe you can get in a program, maybe somebody can pray for you and help you with that, and just get rid of that, because that is really, that's worse than racism. That is, well, I don't know what's worse, but I mean, maybe you experience racism worse as that, but in my eyes, if you can get rid of like bad behavior, then you'll open the doors to success. I mean, George Floyd, he wasn't that old. If he would have gotten rid of his like drug habit, he wouldn't have gotten in the situation and died. He could have been happy with his girlfriend. He could have like, he could have done all sorts of things with his life. But yeah, I know I'm not gonna blame him for anything. I know it's really hard to like fix your life, especially when you have like some addictions. I mean, it's not easy. I understand that, and I don't want to judge people. You know, it's like don't judge or you shall be judged. So I'm not gonna judge him. I'm just actually gonna recommend him for what it for yeah, his efforts. And I know that he's a Christian. He's in heaven right now. You know, like my mom. And so, um, and who knows? Given more time, he might have like yeah. I don't know. It's a sad story. Uh, but yeah, I just want to give my 2 cents about like how the older generation can influence in a bad way, and is influencing in a bad way. Like this image, the older generation is really stabbing the younger generation. They're just destroying the younger generation, while the old younger generation is there with trying to put their arms around the older generation, because they need that father figure, because they need that care. They want to be taken care of. They want to know, hear from somebody what to do with their life, that they're protected. Especially if you grow up in a dangerous neighborhood, you want to be protected, and you want to know. And if you hear from everybody that, oh, this and this, you know. You want to hear that that something, your life will be all right. Now, if the only person who's telling that is some guy, some nephew, some bigger brother, some drug dealer who is saying, well, look, you can be part of my group, you be part of my gang, and I will take care of you, and we're going to be blood brothers and blah blah blah. You know, we need, the good guys need to go into these locations. We need to go to these form groups there, and become the teachers for these kind of kids, become the people who be that father figures for those kids that don't have father figures. You can be, you can be a father figure for dozens of kids, you know, because it's not like they need to be around you all the time. If they see you like once or twice a week, and you can, you know, you can have do some fun stuff, you can just talk to them and explain them like yeah, how to be a man, you know, uh, how to be a just man, uh, a good man, how to treat a woman with respect, and how that, so they can become good men too, become like the father figure for their children, become respectable business owners, you know, be respectable in whatever jobs they choose, you know, have become like the leaders in their community, you know. um, yeah, um, then that community will go out of this like circle of where it's just like the older generation destroying the younger generation. And if you're one of those guys who are doing that, you really have to think about what you're doing to a younger generation. You know, maybe get a job at McDonald's. Stop selling drugs. You know. Anyway, this is kind of like yeah, my message for today. And I'm really talking about this because actually something I've looked, like I said, like my whole life I've looked at what's going on in America, and looking at this situation, and I've seen the cycle of destruction going on. And I just want to use this moment where we are all looking into this systemic racism thing and the destructiveness of it. I just want to hopefully make sense with what I'm saying. I hope you're not going to think, well, that's complete nonsense what you're saying. But yeah, and yeah, just show you guys that that this is maybe like yeah, this is this could really change the whole thing. Because if you change them, what's the difference? Like I used to work with yeah, I always think like, what's the difference between people of success and people and the rest? Is like, really, it's their mindset. The mindset is the only thing. I mean, most people are very indifferent to each other. They're very no, I'm not saying it wrong. They're not that different. You know, people are not that different. I mean, some people. I mean, we have different skills and abilities, and sure, we are um, we're also very unique. But basically, like I said, anybody could have a good business. Anybody could have a career. Anybody could become a good husband, a good wife, good father, a good mother. Anybody could have like children that any child can do good in school. There are very little people that cannot do that if they really want to. Like I don't see any in that. And even that, as a Christian, I believe that with prayer that God can fix that. If you're like ADHD or whatever, you have some kind of problem where you just don't fit in school, or I mean, for God nothing is impossible. No, if you're sick, if you have like mental health problems, God can fix that. But using drugs is gonna only make things worse. They're not gonna fix any problems. And maybe it gives you some distraction, but it gives you also destruction. Drugs will destruct lives, and like dealing drugs, buying drugs, it's really a big scour on this, yeah, on like poor communities in general, on impoverished places, um, and uh, and if nobody is talking, not if nobody is daring to speak up about this, if nobody says, well, look, this is a big problem, we need to fix this, we need to like educate younger people, we need to protect younger people, and we have to stop them being so destructive, then that's really like the biggest problem. That's really the biggest problem. Like staying silent on this subject, you know. So that's why I'm speaking up about this now. Probably will speak up about it more in the future. Um, I'm not trying to be insensitive towards what happened to George Floyd, or like that kind of what happened to him. Uh, I'm not further anything further than that. I think it actually talks about his situation because he had a background of drugs. I don't know if he sold any drugs ever, but he was definitely somebody who bought drugs and was doing crime to get those drugs, and that's why he had like all this. He went to jail so many times, And if he wouldn't have like had all these extensive meetings with the police, then this could have been prevented. You know, it was I'm not saying not saying that it was his own fault, because yeah, he was treated horribly, disgracefully, and yeah, definitely something uh, yeah, should end, like this kind of treatment of people. I mean, you have the innocent until proven guilty, right? You can't just treat somebody as a criminal because they are accused of criminality, and even if they have done something criminal, that doesn't also give you the right to like treat them really bad. I mean, uh, you have to treat them as yeah, protect their lives. At least that. If they say that they cannot breathe, then you have to listen to that. You can't just ignore stuff like that. That's so incredibly stupid. So um, yeah, and yeah. Anyway, I'm really sorry for what happened to George Floyd, and that the way that um, yeah, people are treated in this world, and how they're treating each other. And I just want to say that if we look at our own behavior, our own ideas, what's going on in there, we're being critical about our own. Like if this guy who did this, if he would have been critical of his own, and it was open to criticism from others, like there were people were telling him like you're killing him. He was being told by George Floyd, "You're killing me," you know, and he was just not listening anymore. If we stop listening to each other and just saying, "Well, look, whatever you're saying, it has no value because you're not in my group, you're not a police officer, so I can just disregard anything you say because yeah, I have other yeah, yeah, whatever." Yeah, then you're setting yourself up for like big trouble down the line. And that happened to this guy. He started listening to the people he was like protecting, and even George Floyd. Well, maybe he was doing a crime there. I don't know. He was definitely like he was also one of the people he needed to take care of and protect. You know. And we all should, like, it's not just because he was a cop. We all should take care of each other, protect each other, and treat each other with respect, you know and go into communities which and be like the dad figure for people, and tell them, yeah, give them that love that they need, give them, but also like tell them off when they are doing bad behavior, when they are yeah, because that one bad behavior maybe is just like something small, you know maybe something really small, even just it's just the attitude problem towards each other, calling each other names, all that stuff. We need to get rid of that. We need to get rid of the disrespect and disregard, because if you have that disrespect for each other, then and you're not respecting, yeah, your own race, your own, and if you're not doing that, um, um, you're opening the door for uh, uh, you have to have you have to be open-minded. you know you have to believe in yourself, you have to believe in a future for you and for a great future, and realize that what God wants for you is to be the best person you can be, to be like have this um, amazing life, and and it doesn't need to be, and with amazing life, and I'm not saying you have to be the number one in sports or anything. I mean, that could happen too, but I'm just saying that just being a decent person, treating other people with decency, uh, and just staying away from like stupid stuff, will set the door open for a very very good life, you know. But if you don't, you know, if you think that it's innocent to just call somebody a name or something, you're setting the door open for like you sent for a lot of bad trouble, a lot of bad things in your life, and you're risking to have a life you're gonna regret, and you know, like you know, like George Floyd, you know, he probably yeah. You know, um, how he ended. I mean, he was trying to turn his life around. He wasn't happy with his life. You know, he moved to another city. He, you know, he really tried to be a better person, and he realized that the using the drugs and the crime was just like he was wasting. He was ruining his life. You know, he spent time in jail. He, uh, you know, probably had to regret hurting people, the people that he hurt. You know, and now you can. I know there are a lot of movies and stuff that they kind of like pretend that it's all cool and stuff, and but you know, don't be a badass in a way where you're hurting people. Be a badass in a way where you're being good for people. You know, where you're like get the best grades, make the most money because you are good in business, because you're good at you have the skill set to that people value. You know, be good at your work, be somebody that people love working with. That they say, well, wow, this guy, he's such, you know, he's so respectful. He's such a great guy to be around. You know, I love being around this guy. You know, no, don't lay him off. Lay the other guy off because you know he's such a great addition to the team. You know, he's really positive influence, and you can be that for your family. You know, that will influence like your children, your wife in the future, everything. You know, try to be that kind of a guy, and yeah, I mean, doesn't that sound a lot better than anything else? And we have to teach young people that. We have to teach them to think like that because it doesn't come naturally. If I want to talk about this, some people will never hear this, you know, because they just don't have a father figure, you know. And like I had a father, but you know, he was kind of like, um, you know, I learned most. Yeah, he was great, but again, my mom was really sick. I had to learn a lot of stuff by myself, you know, to think about it by myself. And luckily, even with all the situation I grew up, the poverty, the bad neighborhood, putting in bad situations with a lot of like criminals and stuff. Growing up, they just put me with like some with well, criminals is bad is a bit overstated, but you know, like rough guys. You know, when I was growing up, they put me in with in these groups. Um, um, for young kids, and most of the guys they were there because their parents couldn't handle them because they were really being unruly, and I was there because my mom was sick. So I had to deal with like the rough guys from like a young age, you know. I got beaten up, all this stuff. So I'm not that scared from for rough guys, you know. You know, I know them like from when I was a kid, you know. Um, but yeah, but I never joined in with them, you know, because that's just wasn't who I want to be, you know. I never did drugs because I thought, well, my mom was sick, she had mental illness. Like you're having a healthy brain, a good brain, is such a blessing, you know. Like my mother didn't have it, she had mental illness. I was pretty smart, you know, and I thought, why would I like throw that away just because for what? I don't know. Like it's entertainment or it's. I mean, my life. I didn't need to be entertained. My life was pretty much hell for like in a lot of ways. I didn't need my life to be like worse. Like I didn't need to be entertained. I just tried to have a normal life. That was like my goal, you know. And and I think that a lot of the guys doing drugs and like because they were just bored, you know. They didn't have anything, like they had such easy lives. And they were like, well, let's but as soon but yeah, um, when if you like I was like I was 14 and 15 and I was like writing raps, doing graffiti, doing art, like every day in school, which is drawing graffiti and stuff in my like what I was listening to the teachers. You know, I was still learning, but I was always drawing, and luckily I was smart enough to listen and draw at the same time. But like my friends, as soon as they went to the coffee shops, I mean, I was like, when are you gonna write a rap? When are you gonna do some graffiti? Where's your art? I was you know, they listen to music a lot, and they, oh look, listen to this music, listen to this music, and we're spending all the money on buying records and stuff. But I'm like, well, I wrote raps for me and my buddies because I want to rap with them. So I wrote them parts of my rap. I wrote parts for them to rap too, you know, and I was pretty okay. But and then one day I had like I had a black book, and I was like I don't know, I was like 14, 15, probably like 15, I don't know, maybe 16, I don't know. I gave this black book. They were sitting like I actually went to them because I want to show them my new art that I put in this black book artist, and I was really happy with it. It was like I used like silver and gold and copper, like had this little and it was really like great graffiti. And so started handing them this. They were like in a coffee shop hanging out, and of course I never liked to go there, but I went there because I wanted to like actually wanted to just show them everybody in one go. So I looked them up there, and they were handing it out, and they were looking at it, and I already one of my friends already showed it to them, and they put a graffiti in there. And when they saw his graffiti, they freaked out and said, "Why did you put the graffiti in this black book?" And he was really angry with them because he was such a bad graffiti artist. Like I said, these guys never did any graffiti. And like, well, how you did dare to put in this? And they thought that the black book that I handed out was actually from the best graffiti artist in my hometown. And they thought they didn't know it was my book. They thought I just got had that was like being handed around because it was in the coffee shop. They probably thought he was there or something, and they thought that it was his black book. So I was like only doing graffiti for maybe 2 years or something, and they all kind compared me. They thought I was like um, from a guy that was like the best graffiti artist, about like 6 years older or something. So I worked really hard, and I focused on being a good artist. And luckily, I probably had a lot of talent too, but I don't. It's not just dependent on talent. Talent will help you. Like, let's say if you have a lot of talent and you work like 10 hours, if somebody with less talent, they would have to work maybe 15 hours to get the same results. But to be honest, actually, you know, I don't even know. That's kind of unfair. I don't think that talent is like that. Talent is more how much do you love the subject. If I really loved like doing art, I love drawing. You know, my like I said, my Indonesian father was an artist, so I really loved doing art, and because I was doing it at a young age, by the time I was this like 14, 15, I was pretty good, and then I went like extra, like I put like the extra hours in, and I mean that can look like I'm talented or that I'm that's that, but I think talent is my talent was not was mainly the love I had for the art and the time I want to put in and all the effort I put in because I enjoyed what I was doing. So talent is more about enjoyment of what you're doing, or like the passion you have for doing it and the time you put in it. Because of that, if you combine all those things, yeah, it can look like, oh, this guy's really talented and he achieved a lot in a short time. but it's really because I was focused on one thing, and I put the hours in. Now my other friends, they were just listening to music, and they were just hanging out. They were not doing anything. They were like they were admirers of graffiti, of hip hop, but they weren't like really. I mean, they wanted to rap. And one of my friends, he wanted to rap, and we rapped together, and he was pretty good with that. But he wasn't. He wasn't. He was just admiring other things, and he didn't have expectancies of himself to at that point be good at it, or was trying to be good at it really. Like he wasn't putting the time in it to do that. And I think that's mainly because of um, so I think that if you teach young people that if this kind of like things that, and you encourage them, like if you see one of the kids being an artist and you say, whoa, great art, show me more, and give them some tips and whatever, and try to help them, maybe like look at an art gallery for them, or like an art school, or just give them like some positive feedback. Tell them, oh, you mean show your stuff on social media, whatever. Just give them some feedback and try to help them out. But or some guy is really doing well in school, or he has dreams to become an engineer, or some other guy he wants to do like a business guy, or some guy has these. Just look at their dreams and just give them some positive feedbacks, and reassure them that if they work hard, they will do something, will be able to do something in that field, because that's basically how it works. But if they have these dreams and they do all these things, but nobody's giving them that feedback, then they're completely dependent on what they think, and maybe one bad drawing, or one bad grade, or one bad situation where a few things where it doesn't work out for them well. Young people can get very easily discouraged, and just they can very you can they can easily become enthusiastic when things are going right, but they can also get like, yeah, discouraged. And that's what I think that the what the older generation can do for the younger generation is like give them that incentive. And also the incentive can be like where you say, well, hey, look, you were doing so great with your art, what's going on, what are you doing, why are you not drawing, and he said, well, yeah, I'm hanging out with my friends. Like, well, look, you can hang out with your friends, but you need to do that every evening. Well, you could spend time on your art, and you could become a great artist, or and have make good money with that, or you can just hang out with your friends and maybe get work at McDonald's for the rest of your life. So which is not, I mean, it's okay. It's better than at least you will pay your rent, hopefully. But um, yeah, we need to be positive influences, and that's what we need. And we need positive people. Now and we have to protect them from those bad people. We have to protect them from the other generation, the other older generation, just stabbing them, and just destroying them, and and yeah, giving the negative influence. We have to be a positive influence and positive thing that is more positive than their negativity. That's more interesting than whatever they have to offer. You know. So yeah. So anyway, that's my story about like yeah, the younger generation and how we have to take care of them. And uh, yeah, and I think that could be a big thing in like changing like whole communities. So and yeah, I just want to share this with you guys. I hope you have a super great day. Lots of love. And yeah, thanks for listening to me. And leave a comment if you want, like, subscribe, whatever. See you guys later.